March 15th, 1963, 11:34 and p.m. Malcolm X's hand was trembling on the door handle. He was about to enter the office of Harlem's most dangerous man, and he had to say no. Bumpy Johnson was waiting for Malcolm to come in. On his desk was a folder. Inside were photographs, plans, numbers. The moment Malcolm saw that folder, he would understand. Bumpy Johnson was trying to buy him. But Malcolm X was not for sale, and this rejection would change the fate of both men forever. Nobody knows this story. Nobody heard what was discussed in that room that night. But what was said determined the future, not just of two men, but of an entire neighborhood. This story has never been told anywhere. It's not in any book. It hasn't been shown in any documentary. Because that night, there were only two men in that room, Malcolm X, Bumpy Johnson, and both took this secret to their graves. But years later, a recording was found, a secret audio tape, from Bumpy Johnson's private archive, and on that tape was everything that was said that night. Now I'm going to tell you that recording, the story nobody knew, the meeting of two legends, and how one rejection changed history. Bumpy Johnson was Harlem's most powerful man, but this power hadn't come easy. It took years, pain, wars, losses. Bumpy had seen everything, and survived everything. He grew up on the streets. He had nothing, but he had intelligence. And in Harlem, intelligence was more powerful than bullets. Bumpy would observe. Who owes whom? Which cop works with which gangster? Which businessman pays which politician? He would note everything, learn everything, and when the time came, use it all. Over the years, Bumpy controlled every corner of Harlem. Numbers games were under his control. Protection rackets were his system. The streets ran by his rules. But Bumpy wasn't just a gangster. He was like a diplomat. He'd make deals with cops, eat with politicians, shake hands with businessmen. Everyone knew Bumpy. Everyone showed respect to Bumpy. Because Bumpy was the man who kept Harlem balanced. Without him, the neighborhood would fall into chaos. But in 1963, a new power emerged, and this power couldn't be controlled with bullets. His name, Malcolm X. Malcolm X was different. He wasn't a gangster. He was a leader. Malcolm was teaching Harlem's youth something new: honor, identity, and self-respect. Every Friday evening, Malcolm would give speeches. Hundreds of people would listen to him. And every week, that crowd grew larger. Malcolm's message was simple but powerful. You are valuable. Believe in yourself. Don't bow to the system. These messages resonated with Harlem's youth, especially those living on the streets, because Malcolm gave them hope. But at the same time, he questioned Bumpy's system. In his speeches, Malcolm would say, "Drugs are your enemy. Gambling steals your money. Committing crime isn't power. It's weakness." These words were damaging Bumpy's business because Bumpy's power rested on three things: gambling, protection, and control. Malcolm's message targeted all three. Bumpy had seen this, and he was worried. Because for the first time, he faced an enemy he couldn't kill with bullets. If he killed Malcolm, he'd create a martyr. If he silenced him, he'd become stronger. No, Malcolm X was a different kind of problem and required a different solution. Bumpy made a plan. He would bring Malcolm to his side. February 1963, Bumpy was sitting in his office. Next to him was his most trusted man, Illinois Gordon. Illinois had been by Bumpy's side for 20 years. He knew all his secrets. "The Malcolm situation is growing," said Bumpy. "I know," said Illinois. "Last week 600 people came to his speech, and most from our streets." Bumpy looked out the window. "We're losing them, Illinois. The young ones don't listen to us anymore. They listen to him. What are we going to do?" Bumpy turned. "We're going to bring him to our side." Illinois was shocked. "Malcolm X? Impossible. That man can't be bought." "Every man can be bought, Illinois. You just need to make the right offer." "So what's Malcolm's price?" Bumpy smiled. "Harlem's future." Over the next 2 weeks, Bumpy prepared. He hired architects, had plans drawn, calculated budgets, and prepared a folder. In that folder was everything Malcolm dreamed of: a new mosque, an education center for youth, a gymnasium, a library, a community center. Everything was detailed, everything was professional. And the total cost of everything, $300,000. Bumpy was ready to pay this money with only one condition. Malcolm wouldn't interfere with Bumpy's business. On the morning of March 15th, Bumpy put the plan into action. He sent Illinois to Malcolm's house, had an envelope delivered. The envelope contained only one note. "We need to talk tonight for Harlem's future. BJ." When Malcolm received the envelope, he didn't know what to think. Receiving an invitation from Bumpy Johnson could be dangerous. Either there was an offer or a threat. Malcolm turned to his wife. "Tonight I'm meeting with Bumpy Johnson. Malcolm, this is dangerous. I know, but I can't run. If I run, I'll look weak. Won't you take anyone with you?" "No, this is a show of strength, and I'm going alone." At 11 p.m., Malcolm left the house. His suit was perfect. His bow tie was straight. But inside, he was filled with anxiety, because accepting Bumpy Johnson's invitation meant entering his game, and Malcolm didn't know the rules of the game. At 11:30 p.m., Malcolm arrived at Bumpy's office. The building was old, but the inside was luxuriously furnished. Thick carpets, expensive furniture, art pieces on the walls. Illinois Gordon was waiting at the door. "Mr. Malcolm," he said, "Mr. Johnson is expecting you." Malcolm entered. The room was dimly lit. Only one lamp was on, and under that lamp sat Bumpy Johnson. His suit was black. His fedora was on his head. In his hand was a glass of whiskey. "Malcolm X," said Bumpy, but he didn't stand up. "Mr. Johnson," said Malcolm, "sit." Malcolm sat. The two men looked at each other. The silence was heavy. Bumpy spoke. "I've been watching you for a while." "I know," said Malcolm. Bumpy smiled. "Of course you know. You're a smart man." Bumpy took a sip of his whiskey. "You're changing Harlem." "I'm trying to, and I appreciate that. I really do." Bumpy leaned forward. "But we have a problem." "What is it?" "You're telling people to stay away from gambling, from street business. That's my business." Malcolm's expression didn't change. "I know." "So you're deliberately sabotaging my business." "No, I'm trying to save people." Bumpy leaned back. "Malcolm, you and I are on the same side. We're both working for Harlem, but you see me as the enemy. Because what you do harms people." "Harm?" Bumpy laughed. "I protect this neighborhood. Without me, there would be chaos here." Malcolm didn't respond. Bumpy continued. "That's why I brought you an offer." Bumpy placed a thick folder on the table. "What's this?" asked Malcolm. "Your future, Harlem's future." Malcolm opened the folder. Inside were architectural plans. A mosque, 3 stories, capacity for 1,000 people, a school underneath, a gymnasium next to it, a library, a community center. Everything was drawn, everything was ready. Malcolm looked in shock. How is this possible?" $300,000, said Bumpy. "It's all ready. You just say yes, and construction begins." Malcolm looked at the papers. Everything he dreamed of was there. A school for youth, a mosque for worship, a gym for sports, everything. "Why?" asked Malcolm. "Because you're good for this neighborhood. You educate the youth. You give them value. I support that. But you have a condition." "Yes, just one condition." "What is it?" "In your speeches, show people the right path. But don't use my name. Don't target me. I do my business, you do yours." "Agreed?" Malcolm looked at the folder again. $300,000, a mosque, a school, a gymnasium, everything for Harlem's youth. All he had to do was not mention Bumpy's name. That simple. But Malcolm knew one thing. The moment he took that money, he'd be in debt to Bumpy. And a man in debt cannot be free. Malcolm closed the folder. "No." Bumpy's eyes widened. "No?" "Yes, no. Thank you for your offer, but I can't accept it." "Why?" "Because that money comes from your business, from gambling tables, from protection money, and I cannot bring that money to God's house." Bumpy jumped to his feet. He slammed the table. "Malcolm, don't be a fool here. There's no such thing as clean money in this city. Everyone takes money from someone. You pay rent to your building owner. That man makes money from other places too. Malcolm also stood up. Maybe you're right. Maybe all money is somehow dirty, but I won't take it directly from your hand, because then we become the same. Bumpy narrowed his eyes. You really believe, don't you, that you can change the world? Yes. Well, let me tell you something. People don't change. The system doesn't change. No matter how much you talk, nothing changes. Malcolm looked into Bumpy's eyes. Maybe you're right, but I'm still going to try. Then he turned, walked to the door. Bumpy called after him. Malcolm! Malcolm stopped but didn't turn. If you reject this offer, you make me your enemy, and I'm a good friend, but a terrible enemy. Malcolm opened the door. Then we should both be careful. And left. Illinois Gordon watched Malcolm leave, then turned to Bumpy. What do we do now? Bumpy drank his whiskey, put the glass on the table. Nothing? Nothing? Yes, that man won, and I lost. Illinois was shocked. But you never lose. Bumpy walked to the window, looked outside, at Harlem's lights. Illinois, I've fought in this neighborhood for years. I've beaten every kind of enemy. But Malcolm X is different, because he fights not with guns, but with ideas, and bullets don't work on ideas. So what do? We wait. Time will tell everything. But that night, Illinois Gordon did something. He had secretly placed a recording device in Bumpy's office. He had recorded everything. Malcolm's arrival, Bumpy's offer, Malcolm's rejection, and the final words. Illinois kept that tape, didn't tell anyone for years, until his deathbed. Then he gave it to a friend. Keep this tape, he said, but never release it, because this story is the secret of two legends. The friend took the tape and kept it. But in 2005, that friend died. While cleaning his house, they found the tape. They listened to it and were shocked, because on that tape was a truth nobody knew. Malcolm X and Bumpy Johnson had met one night, and Malcolm had said no to $300,000. 2 men, 2 worlds, 1 offer, 1 rejection. Malcolm X said no to money, said no to power, said no to the easy way. And this rejection showed his principles. Bumpy Johnson accepted it, accepted that he had lost a battle for the first time. But at the same time, he respected Malcolm, because Malcolm was a man who couldn't be bought. And in Harlem, men who couldn't be bought were rare. After that night, they never met again, but they watched each other from afar. Malcolm continued his speeches. Bumpy continued his business. Both lived in Harlem. Both influenced Harlem, but in different ways. Malcolm gave hope to youth. Bumpy gave order to the streets. Both became history. But that night, that meeting, nobody knew until that tape was found, and now you know. Malcolm X said no to Bumpy Johnson, said no to $300,000, and became history, because having principles is more valuable than being powerful. If this story shocked you, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, because we share these unknown stories every day. Tell us in the comments, was Malcolm right? Would you have accepted the $300,000?